Okay guys, this is probably going to be maybe the last Bifrost graph editor strands tutorial I post. I know it's a little bit dense and complicated. I'm not sure how much value you guys see in it, but I find a lot. I was doing a piece for something that I'm working on for my own, artwork here in my studio, and I started thinking about how I could use the Bifrost graph editor to accomplish it. Let me pull the render up. So what I did is I took this stone. This is a piece of granite that I made out of a polyhedron sphere that I then sculpted and took into Mudbox to add a lot more detail, and then basically combined it with this Bifrost graph network right here using a compound that I found from a researcher at MIT, and I'll show this to you guys in a little bit. But so really nice. I like the result. I'm still playing with it and working on it. I took the same texture that I made for the stone in Substance, and I put it onto the graph network as a camera projection so that it looks like it's kind of coming out of the stone. So this worked out pretty well for me. I'd like to show you how this was made, because a compound is generally a bunch of nodes that are combined together, and people far more clever than me make these compounds. This particular compound is called Strands Around Strands, and it's from MJCG Compounds, and that's the abbreviation for the name of the researcher at MIT who wrote the compound. I'll put a link to that in the comments or in the description for this video when I upload it, so that if you want to go and grab that compound, you can do so yourself. And so here's how we'll do it. We're going to create a new graph. I'll do something different. We'll do a sphere. So we're going to start with a sphere. We always need, not always, but we're generally going to create probe geometry to do the sort of work that we're doing right here. I'm going to create a curl noise field. I'm going to go through this a little faster because you guys should be pretty up to speed on this by now, and if not, you can always pause the video. Let's put in a scale field so that we can give a little more oomph and control to our curl noise field. Right here we're going to actually put a scatter node in. So we're going to scatter points before we feed this into our vector field scope. And I hope you guys know this is not the only way to use Bifrost. It is just one of the coolest ways as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to set strand. So let's get our set Arnold strand settings, and then let's get our set strand. And we want our set strand size profile that we're going to feed into Arnold. So this is our setup here, and as usual we're going to plug our curl noise field into the scale field. Scale field gets plugged into the vector field of the vector field scope, if it'll go in there. The mesh sphere becomes the probe geometry for the scatter by number, and we're going to push those points into the probe geometry of the vector field scope. We're then going to connect diagnostic geo to strands, out strands to strands on set Arnold, and Arnold to output. And if we look at our screen here, let me zoom out, give us a little bit of a view here. You can see that we've got, it's a little weedy. We're going to fix that. So let's move this over so we can kind of see everything. It should be okay right there. There we go. So first and foremost, I'm going to pop that diameter up to about 30, right? And let's zoom out a bit. Next, scatter by number. Let's leave this alone for now. We're going to come back to this in a little bit, but our vector field scope and our scale field will both give us things that we need to tweak. So I'm just going to go like a 4, 4, 4 here. And for our vector field scope, we want to scroll down and display flow lines as always. And then we're going to tweak our flow line length in seconds, as you can see here, to get us those beautiful mathematical lines that we we enjoy so much. I'm going to set strand size profile. I'm going to go to 0.08, somewhere around there. I'm going to make them, it might be a little too small. Let's go to 0.08. There we go. And then under set Arnold strand settings, we're going to choose our mode override, and we're going to say thick. At this point, if I were to give it a favorite material like an AI standard surface material, put in something like a sky dome light, turn that down to camera, of course, and do a quick render, bring that up from the bottom, you'll see that this is a pretty familiar scenario that we've put ourselves in, right? Now, what this compound does, and if you download the compound from the link that I give to you, what it does is it wraps strands around other strands. I'll show you how it works. So once you've downloaded the compound and the j.son, the JSON file, the .json file, it'll allow you to create a Maya environmental variable that will sort of direct Bifrost to the new compounds that you have installed. And we're going to do strands around strands. So create strands around strands. And we're simply going to park that right here between Arnold and the output. And now, as you can see, if we zoom in here, what we've done is we've just sort of created this tangle of strands around strands. Now, it sounds simple, like duh. Mathematically, this is pretty difficult, however, to do. And if you looked inside of this compound, by the way, you can double click and open that. You can see that this person is wicked smart, a lot scary smart, smarter than we are. And this is a beautiful, elegant mathematical way to do this. Now, what I really like about this is whenever you change anything in here, it's going to affect what happens here. I'll generally start here with number of children or how many strands it wraps around the parent strand. The parent strand is our original strand. Let's put our parent radius at about 6 for now. And I'll put the child radius scale at 1. I'm just doing some random stuff just to see what we get here. All right, it's already kind of cool. You can see, again, if we pull up a render, you can see that we've got a much different, zoom in a little bit. So it looks like a nice twist of rope. Now, what would happen, and I'm going to leave this kind of parked right here so we can see it. What would happen if I came into my set strand size profile and tweaked the shape of this strand? As you can see, it's changing the way the strands look. That's pretty cool. What happens if I come over to my scatter by number parameter and I drop this amount from 1,000 to just like 100? Got a bunch of noodles. Looks like I liked it better. Let's go about 500 here, because we're going to play with something else. And I'm going to come to my vector field scope. And what would happen if we start to drop our flow line samples per second? Okay. What if we drop our flow line length? Okay, cool. I really like this. So what I generally did for mine is I played a lot in this area first, and I started to think about, like, all right, if I can offset the child from the parent, sort of child radius default, number of children, and drop that down. I can say, hey, I just want you to have one kid. I want your kid's radius to be smaller, bigger. Now, I know right now it looks like just a big bowl of pasta, but let's tweak a couple other things. One of the things I'm going to tweak here, well, let's bring the number of children back up to, say, like 10. And it's this twists per ratio. I want to start to really And again, let's zoom in here so we can kind of get in a little closer. I'm going to pop this number right here and do 20. Oh, that's starting to look weirdly creepy. So we have our twists per ratio. We can pull that down. We can pull a number of children down. This is going to change the way it looks again. More. Oh, it looks like a weird kind of worm. That's still kind of cool to me. I'm going to come back to vector field scope now that we've changed these parameters in the create strands around strands. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to pull that flow line length in seconds back. Oh, cool. And so I have played around with this before, back in the day, but never with scatter by number, points node, or anything like that. So you can see this allows us to create some pretty cool geometry that again is keyable, although we're not keying anything. Let's make this a nice beautiful render. Let's stop this for a second. I'm going to add a HDRI light to here. File. Go grab one of my HDRIs, and it'll be under my Maya. Well, let me go to Ragnarok is my drive for that, and go to my HDRI downloads, and let's just do this abandoned tiled room, and let's make sure under color balance to turn on alpha is luminance. Everything looks good. This is a lat long, it's not a mirror ball, so that should be okay. Let's hit play. Let Arnold make that texture for us, that TX file. That looks really cool. Oh, that's beautiful. Love that. And now, just to go over a couple of things again, I'm going to go up. I'm going to say, let's do, under our render settings, let's bring this to a 1K render, 1K square. I'd do 2K, but we'll do 1K just to keep it quick. I'm going to post a tutorial about optimal render settings, but for the most part, I don't need any of these right now. I know that for a fact. I am going to go to View, Camera Settings. We're going to turn on our resolution gate so we can see what our composition is. I'll minimize this as well. And we're going to go to View, and under Camera Settings, we're going to say Overscan. Let me see if Fill helps us a little bit more. Oops. And it has to do with the resolution settings of my monitor here. There we go. Fill works pretty well. So what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in here. We're going to find ourselves kind of a nice angle, maybe like that. And again, I'm going to create a locator. Let's scale that up just so we can see it really easily, and let's move it through space until it's at a point where we would like the camera to focus. I think I'd like the camera to focus right about in here. And so I just want to intersect that geometry right at that point so you can see. That should be good right there. Next, I'll go to Display, Heads Up Display, and we're going to show our object details. That shows us distance from camera of our locators so that we know where to set our focal point, 44.853. So we're just going to go to View, select Camera, scroll down to the Arnold settings, and we're going to first put in the 44.843, then enable depth of field, and then we can start to push that aperture size depending on how much depth of field we want to show in this render. Let's get it started here, and there you go. You can see. So if I want more depth of field, I can push that even harder. I like to go somewhere kind of in the middle, which photographically to me looks about the best. So This is another tutorial for the Bifrost graph editor, hopefully giving you guys all of the resources you need to make the best possible project you can and to learn the most that you can, because again, this stuff's pretty cool and it really is a viable artistic expression. I mean, I love working with this. So again, strands around strands. And I will put the link to the download for the MJCG Compounds 2.1 in the description. All right, don't forget to drop kick that like button, guys. Bye.